We're entering our last section here using trig ratios to find an unknown angle in a right triangle now. So we started out with ratios, then we've used that ratio to find an unknown side. We call that x. Now we're going to find an unknown angle. We're going to start out with some calculator programs, or some calculator problems to just practice the calculation skill, and then we're going to move into doing it on triangles. In each of these problems, we're going to round to the nearest degree. What we are given is sine of some unknown angle is equal to some number. In order to undo the sine, you need to have an inverse in the same way that you undo multiplication with division or undo addition with subtraction. You undo sines with the inverse sine. You undo tangents with the inverse tangent. They actually have their own separate function, just like adding, specifically for undoing each of those three main trig functions. You can find those on your calculator with the second key. And we'll get to that in a second, but let's write out what we're going to do. We're going to take the inverse sine of both sides of this equation, and you write the inverse sine by saying sine with a little -1. Doesn't mean you're taking it to the -1 power. It just is the way that you write that function out. The inverse sine of the sine of c is like saying something plus 5 minus 5, or something times 100 divided by 100. They undo each other, leaving you with just c. The angle is equal to the inverse sine of whatever that is. And this is the part you then type in your calculator. So to get this in your calculator, you're going to want to use the second key. There's a button that says second on it, and then you're going to want to push the sine key. So second, and then push sine, and on your calculator it should show up with sine -1, sin -1. And then you type in the 0.7547. 7547. Hit enter, and it should come up with something like 48.999, and that's your angle. Now it says round it to the nearest degree. I think it's pretty clear on this one that that one's going to round up. So you're going to end up with 49 as your answer. So C is equal to 49. And all of these are going to be in degrees. So we are just going to put it as a little degree symbol right there, just like you were talking about temperature. So C equals 49 degrees, that's the angle. Let's try it for tan real quick, the tangent. To undo the tangent, we take, surprise, the inverse tangent, the tan -1 of both sides. Tan -1 of both sides. On this side here, the tan inverse of the tangent of B is just going to be B. They undo each other. Then the inverse tangent of 2.4751 is what we type into our calculator. Second tan. So this comes up tan -1. 2.4751. Our answer comes out to 68.00 something or another, so rounding to the nearest degree is going to be 68 degrees. So again, these are just calculator problems to practice. Make sure you're doing it right. Same concept applies to the rest of these. There's not a cosine example, unfortunately, but it's the same thing, cos -1 or second cosine on your calculator. Setting these up in a problem is going to be writing the same ratios we did before, but with different information than we've had last time. Our angle right here is the question mark, the unknown. The sides that we are given the hypotenuse, and we actually have a number for that, 26. We are given the one next to, not the one opposite, but the adjacent. So we are given the adjacent and the hypotenuse. If we go back up to our ratios, we will see that adjacent and hypotenuse comes from the cosine. Decided to bring our handy little reference table with us here. Adjacent and hypotenuse, again, cosine. And so we are going to write this all out as the cosine of question mark, you could replace that with x or something, is equal to the adjacent 10 over the hypotenuse of 26. To solve this, we need to undo the cosine. We need to take the inverse cosine of both sides so that we get question mark or x alone. So we're going to take the inverse cosine of this side, and whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side in order to keep everything in balance. So the cosine -1 of 10 over 26. This side, inverse cosine and cosine cancel each other out, so question mark equals, and now we just go to our calculator and do second cosine, inverse cosine, 10 divided by 26, close our parenthesis, and we get 67.3, which rounds down to 67 degrees. And that's it. So that's our unknown angle. In just a couple steps, we were able to get straight to that. Let's try another example here. Let's do number 74. We are working with the angle here down in the bottom, and we are given the hypotenuse. That's always the easiest one to identify. And then we have to decide opposite or adjacent, and we don't know the one right next to, the one touching it, the one adjacent to it, but we do know the one across from the angle, which is the opposite, 47. Looking over at our table, opposite and hypotenuse are used right here with the sine function. So let's write ourselves a sine function. Sine of our unknown angle, question mark, is equal to opposite of 47 over hypotenuse of 59. And then we need to undo both sides so that we get question mark alone, our unknown angle. Since we're taking a sine of it, we need to break it free with an inverse sign. Break this side then with an inverse sign as well, so it stays in balance. Those undo each other, leaving us with our unknown angle equal to inverse sine of that fraction. So let's type second sine in our calculator, 47 over 59, and you get 52.8 or 53, you round, degrees. 53 degrees is our unknown angle. That's the one right there. Good luck with these.